to the community garden. So we have a whole new subject to talk about today. We've got our soil all prepped and ready, beautiful dirt. We've even planted a few things, but Robert is going to talk to us today about spacing. Not just spacing of the plants that you have, but also how to space your seeds. So these tiny little things, how do we know how far apart so that we don't have just one big blob that when we go to try to, it inhibits the growth. But he can talk more about that, as well as some ways that we need to thin. And then of course there's always going to be labeling. So it's important, and he's going to talk about why, and I'm guilty of this myself. I have grown at home under my grow lights, forgetting to label, and it's not good. It's never good to not know what you're growing.
They all look the same once they come out, don't
They do look the same.
Yes.
And even in the beds, you can notice that they look a lot alike. So it's always good to have a label. And then of course I have Jamie returning, our resident gardener here that takes care of all this beautiful property out here at the Y and does an amazing job keeping everything watered and fed and just growing well. So thank you both for helping us out with this education piece for you. So Robert, talk to us. What do we need to do about growing plants?
It's April 1st.
April 1st.
And we're in the season now for growing cool season vegetables. Now, the University of Missouri Extension has a vegetable planting calendar that lists all the cool season vegetables that you can grow. And the one we're going to look at today is broccoli.
Boom, boom, boom.
So we have broccoli plants here. Now, we're a little late into the season. Broccoli can be sown indoors in February and become a transplant about this size. And this is when you want to plant them in the garden. So we're going to plant the broccoli plants here. But first, we want to show you if you were going to plant some other cool crops like beets and lettuce and radishes. It's pretty simple. You just take your trowel. Jamie's going to take a trowel and just make a line in the soil. Just like that. And you may not even be able to see it on the video, but it's maybe a 1/4 inch deep. And you just take the seeds and sprinkle them on there. And we don't have to do that today because we're going to plant broccoli here. And then we make sure we put our label in there. That's why the label is very important, okay? But instead of doing seed work today, we're going to plant broccoli. So Jamie, why don't you tell us about planting broccoli?
Right, well, what I like to do first is kind of separate the roots so they get a good start and ample room. And we've already placed our broccoli approximately 18 inches apart. So we have a little bit more room on this side here, and we go the depth of the soil that they've come out from. Ooh, we got the worm right there. So I just dig a small hole, separate the roots some, and place the broccoli in. I like to hold on to it with one of my hands and bring the soil to it with the other, and just firmly push in so it's got a good foundation to start from. And if there's any leaves on it that don't look super healthy or they've yellowed a little, I like to pick those off. It gives more nutrients to the other ones.
So you're tucking it into bed.
Yes.
Literally into the bed. So that's a good point about the labeling, Robert. So for example, if you bought that at the store and you're not super good on plant identification, you don't always have the depth to plant a plant that you buy from the store. You don't know how far to space it. So is the guide not a way?
Our guide has the spacing of the plants and even tells you how many plants you will need to feed a family of 4. And you can work it through there.
Yes. Of course, we have a lot more than 4 in our family, the Y family for the kids, but this is great. So that gives you everything you need to know from when to plant it, how deep to plant it, how far apart they need to be, and then how much food you're going to receive out of it.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. All right. One thing I did want to show you is this. Seeds can come in tape, believe it or not. It's called seed tape. And what's the advantage or disadvantage of seed tape, Robert?
Seed tape is interesting because the tape is actually dissolves in water, but it has the seeds already in it at the proper spacing. So you just lay the tape where you want the plants to grow, you water it in. The tape dissolves, the seeds sprout. A disadvantage might be that sometimes not all the seeds sprout. You get some spaces in the rows.
Right. So particularly for little tiny seeds like spinach is super little, trying to space those out is really difficult. But you always go back in afterward. And we're going to cover another video where we get into a little more detail about seeds, but then you can go out and and prune those out to get you just the right spacing again. So we will mark this off, Jamie. We've got it labeled out, and we know now this is our broccoli bed. So if you'd like more information on any of the things that we're talking about today, or to get your county extension office garden planning schedule and all the information we've talked about, you can reach out to the Missouri Southern University Extension.
University of Missouri Extension.
Thank you. I said that totally wrong. University of Missouri Extension.
It's at extension.missouri.edu.
And you can also get it online. So
Yes.
you wouldn't even have to come into the office or phone. You can get it right offline. That's how I printed this one for us. Lots of wonderful information. And then I know I've been into Robert's office. That's how we met in the very beginning. He has a plethora of information, you know, on different subjects when it comes to gardening, and can really be a great resource for you, as well as the Ozark Master Gardeners group. They have a Facebook page that you can also get information on how to best get some of your questions answered when it comes to gardener plant identification.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming, and thank you, Jamie. It's going to be awesome what we can grow here at the Fair Acres YMCA Community Garden.